Good evening, you guys. Today we are here in Hayama. It's about an hour's drive from Tokyo and a very popular summer destination. We came here to watch the sunset, which we barely missed.
The sun is gone.
Why? I wanted to come just in time
just for the sunset. Well, I did. I technically did see it.
Yeah, that was a bummer, but the reason why we missed it was pretty cool actually. So, we found a parking spot, which was very lucky. Someone left at the exact timing. And then on our walk over here, we saw that there was a festival going on. We honestly don't know what the celebration is for and what the festival is about. We wish we did, but we did get to see a little bit of it. Cool experience for us to just like run into this summer festival, and that is like the perfect segue to this video where today we're going to be talking about raising our kids abroad, living abroad, and just talking about the pros and cons of it. The first thing is we definitely love the exposure to different cultures and religions. We love to see the differences of the way people think and how different beliefs can be, but showing that to our girls is a whole nother level. Tanner and I were both raised in a predominantly LDS or Latter-day Saint, also known as Mormon community. So honestly, growing up, I think I thought everyone grew up that way and everyone believed those same things. And as I got older, like I started to learn that wasn't the case, but Northern Utah is so concentrated with that religion that honestly there wasn't a lot of diversity, especially when it came to religion. So it's really cool for us to be able to talk about these differences with our girls and for them to, at such a young age, see and know that there's so many different ways to believe and ways to think and just like view the world. Even today, seeing that just sparked more conversation with our girls. Daddy.
Chico?
Yeah. It is not lost on me that I'm able to sit here in Japan next to the coast with, unfortunately, cloud of Fuji, so I really can't see it, but knowing that Fuji was there in my view. Here on the side of me, I have a Shinto shrine, and I mean, we just had a cultural experience. So it's just so cool to be able to take it in, to live by the coast. Tanner and I are loving that aspect. And there are mountains in the distance. So just the ability to see new things more than just like travel sightseeing, like that's definitely a pro too, because we're experiencing and exploring new places all the time, but like living in different areas. In Germany, we lived right next to a forest and it was so lush, so green. We had beautiful like yellow safflower fields coming up in the spring and it was just gorgeous. And here in Japan, it's totally different, beautiful in its own way. This right here is like our coastal experience, and back in Germany, yeah, was like our forest, more, you know, we lived in the hills. Definitely a pro to be able to experience different parts of the world and see it in like more of a local way. What was on your foot?
A crab.
A crab?
It just came off my foot.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, switching out here now. It is unbelievably perfect weather right now. Swimming on the beach and the sun behind the mountain. The next pro that I wanted to talk about is just the diversity among the people that we live amongst, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are working with the military, and that with the military it is a big melting pot of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different countries. Just you get to see a lot of diversity in race and belief, in language, of course English being the unifying one, but that's just been really refreshing and exciting to see, because you get to hear stories about people's backgrounds, where they come from, where they've been, where they're going to be going, and it's just something special about that, and it's fun to be able to connect with others who are in a similar situation like us. We're really hopeful that our kids being exposed to so many different cultures, both within the military community and the country that we're living in, hopefully they're going to be able to have such a broader understanding of like what others look and sound like, and their preferences of food and culture and vehicles and living. There's so many aspects to it, so we love that aspect, and we just really enjoy having so much diversity and seeing how it can just open our minds to different perspectives. The next one that I think is one of our favorite things is the food, and we could not be in a better place right now for some amazing food. In Japan, if you've ever traveled here, you know that there is a wide range of Japanese foods that are very new to like the Western world. And Japanese cuisine is so much more than just like sushi and teppanyaki. It's so much more, and even for us, we have a hard time really branching out sometimes because we find the foods that we're like really comfortable with and they have really great flavors, but there are so many more, and we love that our girls are getting exposed to the different dishes and the different flavors and the combinations. In fact, when we talk about Willa going to her yochen or her Japanese kindergarten, that's one thing that we think so highly of, is that they have like a dietitian, a registered dietitian, part of their staff who helps plan the meals for the kids. I know that probably is not like uncommon in other cultures and stuff, but like for elementary schools, it's usually like only for like a school district. And another thing that happened for Willa the other day at her yochen is that she had the opportunity to like go through like an emergency prep drill where they reenacted like that they were having like a tsunami or an earthquake, evacuation, and that they were sheltering in place, and that they actually had to try some emergency food, like 72-hour kit kind of emergency preparedness food. I actually need to talk to her more about that too, but it was fun to see the pictures and to hear about like what that experience was for her. Of course, we wish that it wasn't so much for the fact that we live in such an earthquake, tsunami, typhoon prone area, but given that we do, it's fun to see that she had that opportunity in school. Of course, I could probably go on for a solid 30 minutes about all of the different foods that we've tried over the years, but I will leave you to checking out our other videos just to see some of the other food options that we've had. Going through the different grocery stores has been a really fun pastime of ours, and every time we go, it's fun to see the different types of food that other people buy, and I'm always looking at people's carts when I go in there to see like what they have, and I'm just so curious. It would be fun to go into someone's house and just see what they prepare. But the diversity of the food is awesome. And of course, living close to so many other countries, especially in Europe, was a huge benefit, and we got to see a lot of different foods and try some different concoctions that we've become to love more and more. And after saying all of that, I am not discrediting a lot of states in the US, especially those that have quite a diversity in culture. I'm thinking like New York, I'm thinking around like the Great Lakes area. There's quite a few cities that have some very ethnic and diverse foods. We just haven't lived there, so we're speaking from our experience, and there's definitely some really good food from other cultures in Utah as well. But it's definitely just a different experience living in the country where we are. And the next topic is definitely one that is near and dear to my heart. Having lived outside of the country right when I was 18 in El Salvador and Belize, I really was just like thrown into the world, learning another language during my church mission, and it really opened my eyes to language and really made me appreciate how, I guess, fun language learning could be. It's been really fun to see Willa with German learn so much and to be able to like have things click and connect. And even now here in Japan, she is always just going on rants, saying who knows what, because I think it's mostly gibberish, but she does have a lot of Japanese words and phrases that she will say. And I'm really hoping that her desire for learning languages will carry on for the rest of her life. And the same for Noah. We'll see how things go. It really just depends on how life takes us and where we live. All right, it's getting dark and windy enough. We're going to pick up on this tomorrow. All right, so here we are, next day. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, so the next one is affordable childcare, and I have not fact-checked this, but when I think of the USA, I think about it having one of the most expensive childcare in the world. Again, I have not fact-checked that,
But we've heard from lots of family and friends back in the States, and they talk about just how expensive it can be to send a kid into like a pre-K or a childcare service. It can be quite a bit, and that's kind of the motivation for a lot of people that we grew up with to stay home with the kids.
Yeah, so many mothers are stay-at-home where we live. Part of the culture as well, but I feel like in the States, it's honestly like an ongoing debate of like, what is worth it? Because if a woman goes to work, it would not be too crazy to say that a half of her paycheck would go to childcare.
If not all of it,
If not
honestly.
the majority, yeah. Here, we've been very lucky because Willa goes to Japanese Yochin, and it is quite affordable.
Yeah, I think that it is roughly $100 a month, and that includes lunch.
And transportation.
And bus. Of course, it's not everything. We had to pay for like uniforms and like a couple supplies here and there. But to be honest, it's really quite affordable. And it was the same in Germany. We had, I don't even remember how much that one was when she was just like in the nursery stage. Like
When she was 2
less
to
than
3.
We paid like, I think, €80 a month for the same thing up to, was it 20 hours a week or something that we had her in there?
15 to 20, yeah. It was like the minimum amount. When we're comparing hours, like here in Japan, she's getting more affordable childcare. However, when she turned 3 and went to her German kindergarten, she was still there for, 5 hours every day?
25 hours a week.
So a few less hours than here. It's a little longer here for the week, but
It was free.
it was free.
Yeah, which was really awesome. And we talked a little bit about that in other videos and just like comments on Instagram and stuff. Just the support system that comes from other countries and like the Kindergeld or like the children's money that parents get. We didn't get that.
In Germany.
In Germany, but then also the subsidies that the local government will give to the community. So, or hoping that something like that will happen in the U.S. But in the meantime, that has been a really big pro for us and has saved us a lot and has really allowed us to let the kids get involved in the community more because they're surrounded by kids and teachers speaking the language and having the different customs.
Yeah, not only have they been integrated, but speaking for me, it's been huge for me, for one, to be able to work. When we were in Germany, I was teaching nutrition classes, so that was huge, and doing YouTube. And it does take a lot of time, like YouTube for sure does, and so it makes it so I feel like it can work in like a balanced way.
So it's pretty obvious that we spend a lot of time with each other and we travel a lot, so that has been a huge plus for us. It's like a pro and a con, right? And we'll talk about that in the cons, but having so much time just for ourselves as a family has brought us really close together. And it allows us to have experiences every single day with very few interruptions. And I say interruptions lightly, with very few like times where we have to really share our time with others. So for us, it's been really awesome to make memories with the kids, to go and travel, to go and explore different countries, even parts of the countries that we live in. And we really cherish it.
Yeah, it's just nice to feel like, even though we're still doing full-time work, like Tanner's still gone a lot of the day, where our kids are still in childcare and Willa's starting to be involved in activities, I feel like we're still able to like have the needed family time. Whereas I feel like if we were in the States and we just had, more people to visit and more places to be, naturally we would have less family time. And even now, to this day, Tanner and I talk about like trying to scale back and not create this busy lifestyle that honestly is just like normal in the States.
It's easier to get into with activities and parties and celebrations and such, and they're all wonderful things. Like we don't want this to come across as like we love our independence and we never want to have like this interactive and family like community activities and everything.
The social, yeah.
Like that is actually a part that we miss quite frequently, and we'll talk about that. But like we are really grateful that we have this opportunity right now and we're able to capitalize on the time.
That kind of leads us to the next bullet point, which is talking about how we're able to experience like an unconventional, non-traditional lifestyle. Although, again, Tanner's working like full-time, like that's not really that strange. I feel like what makes it, unconventional is we're just doing it abroad. However, I feel like it's given us the confidence if we wanted to go like to more of the extreme or even more unconventional or non-traditional, like backpacking, full-time backpacking, doing van life, being more of like these nomads per se with families. I think this experience gives us more confidence to do that. Not to say that we will. All of those things like interest us at times, and then other times we're like, no, like, I don't know if they'd be for us. We don't really know where life's gonna go, honestly, but I can say it's just given us so much confidence to be like, you know what? We can do it. We can try, and if we don't like it, like, we can change. We can move. Like,
yeah, we definitely notice that there's this place of privilege that comes from that because, quite honestly, there's the majority of the world that can't do that. So with that, it is a pro and obviously something that we recognize, but it does, like Risa said, it does open us up to that, warms us up to the opportunity that might come along.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to get to is I think there's a lot of people in the world that they have these dreams and they want to, achieve them, but they don't actually take the steps to do it, or they don't have the confidence to get there, even if they had, say, the opportunity or monetary ability to do it, that they wouldn't jump on it. And I just think us doing this, like, gives us the confidence to be like, no, we would jump on it, or like we would believe in ourselves.
Yeah,
to feel like we could.
We'd be more open to it.
Yeah.
The next one we're going to talk about is grocery prices and like food prices overall, comparing it specifically Germany, Japan, and the US. Now, we haven't lived in the US for quite some time, but we have been told by friends and family, and we see lots of people posting like their grocery hauls, and it's been really surprising. So much money, and I think it definitely has multiple things going into there. Like, the US tends to buy a lot more and like too much.
We did actually a video that compared the prices from a Smith's in Utah versus Aldi's in Germany. So you can go and check out that video, because like the Nutella was like a big shocking difference.
No, and
kind of expected.
Yeah, kind of expected for an imported item.
But even like chicken and things, I was like, wow, like doing it and comparing it, like we knew overall our budget on groceries was less in Germany than it was in the States, even with more mouths to feed. Like Willa just grew up and, was eating more solids. So that's telling, but then like milk was definitely more expensive in Germany than the States. So it was different items, varied overall though.
But the shocking one, I think for us, moving to Japan, is just how much more affordable things are.
Yeah.
And a lot of that does have to do with the fact that the yen exchange rate has been on historical highs for the last several years, and including now, it's still, it's dropped a little bit, but it's still quite high. So that does have a factor into it, but in general, it still feels like a lot of the prices are more affordable here, and there's a good wide variety in things that we've really enjoyed. For this last bullet in the pros section, it is safety, and that is something that we've become really quite accustomed to, and we kind of catch ourselves like thinking, wow, we've really just become so comfortable living in safe countries. Now, Utah was definitely still safe in the areas that we lived, with the exception of one. And that we had like my bike stolen out of the backyard and had
drug dealers going
around the street.
Yeah.
That was a short-lived experience before we moved out of there. But for the most part, we've grown up feeling very safe in the places that we've lived. That being said, when we moved to Germany, it was like extraordinarily comfortable, even being out in the countryside. Meanwhile, back in the States, you see a lot of the horrific tragedies that go on at the schools and robberies, and then you hear about people being affected at home. It doesn't really make it feel that warm and fuzzy about the feeling of going back. I get it, there's a lot of factors going into that, but for the most part we felt really safe in Germany. And then we fast forward to here,
and here it is so safe too. Like, I don't know if I would say I feel safer than I did in Germany, but definitely as safe.
But consider this, we live in a city of almost 500,000 people.
For our location, people are passing by our house all the time.
Day and night. Every time of the day. Yeah.
We should do better about locking our bike, but Tanner never does.
And I'll tell you a little story about that. So currently I'm riding Risa's bike because my bike got stolen. Not
at our house, not in the Japanese economy.
But on base, yeah. And a lot of you are probably not surprised at that. I honestly wasn't really surprised either. But in a moment of me not locking my bike up right by my office, someone decided to have a free ride, and I still don't know where the bike is to this day. Beside that fact, I don't lock my bike, and it sits out in the broad daylight with the cover on all the time, even over the weekends when we are out all day. And it hasn't been stolen. And so that's just one of the small examples of how the Japanese culture just really I think they just really respect others' property, and that's like as a general rule. Of course, there are outliers.
Like, even what come to mind is like we saw an Apple Watch that was hanging up with a note next to it. One time when we were in Tokyo Disneyland, we came out and our umbrella was gone, and it was pouring rain, and so I was like, well, someone probably just grabbed it. Well, I told someone who was close by, like a worker, and they came out and grabbed the umbrella because someone had turned it in. Not only do we feel safe, but like our things feel safe.
And another aspect to look at is like how young the kids are when they're just going to school. Like 4 or 5 year olds taking the trains and buses, going to school, walking by themselves. Like there's a lot of independence that they're taught from an early age, and so it's really awesome to know that the community is just very observant and respectful, and yeah.
They always like keep an eye on the younger kids and the fact to like ensure their safety as well when there's ones alone. Like I think there's just like a community responsibility. One
other example I think is very relatable to so many people is crosswalks. Now people here, they will follow the rules for the most part with crosswalks and with like stoplights and stuff. Like if someone is entering a crosswalk that does not have like a stoplight for it, if the person is like even remotely showing an indication that they're going to cross, people stop. Other countries, including the US, definitely not always the case.
Honestly, I feel like when we leave Japan, it will be a culture shock no matter where we go to in terms of like safety. I'm trying to prep myself already to just like be more aware. Oh, our baby's awake. Okay, I'll keep on going here, and then maybe Tanner will switch out at the end. Let's get to the cons, because there definitely are some. This is definitely the first one that comes to mind, and the hardest part about being away, and that is that we are away from our family and our close friends. It is really difficult to have to continually say goodbye to our family members and know it's not going to be at least a year, sometimes even longer, until we see them again. There's a lot that happens in a year. I mean, in our lives, we're continually changing and trying to grow, and same with our families. Even as of late, like our grandparents, we've been receiving a lot of calls saying that they're starting to decline physically, mentally, and even when we FaceTime them, like you can see noticeable differences. How they look, how they're acting, and it's like a hard reality. I feel like those are the moments that just like make it feel so real. Now someone's here. One sec. Okay, I'm back. So apart from people just continually growing, getting older, like that's just life, that happens, I think it's becoming harder to be apart from family as our girls age. Willa this past year has said multiple times how she wants to live in Utah. She wants to live by her grandmas or her aunts, and just family in general. Like she loves having visitors here, and she loves seeing her family, and so of course she, is like, if I can live by them, that'd be so fun. And I think Willa doesn't quite understand that her experience with family is different than life would be if we were in Utah, right? Like she would still have to go to school when she was with family here. I take her out of school, so she's like, it's awesome. She's going on vacations and trips. She's getting one-on-one attention, sometimes even two-on-one attention, right? She loves that. And it does make me and Tanner, have these conversations about what we really want out of life. Relationships really are some of the biggest things that matter in life, and our family is one of those. We just have to weigh like pros and cons and what we want. But either way, we know we're going to prioritize family, and whether that means going back to the States more frequently to see family, or going for the summers when Will is more in school, like we'll just have to see what that balance looks like. But I can say it's difficult being away from them. Another thing is that we've just kind of always been in this like in between. Like when we moved to Germany, we absolutely loved it. There was a period of hard transition, but we ended up loving it and considering that our home. However, we knew living in Germany that we would likely move someday. That just was kind of the reality. We were on a work contract, and so the time would run out eventually. Obviously, we ended up moving here to Japan, trying to experience life in 2 different countries before our work contract came up. So even here in Japan, it's like we're here and we're making it our home, and we're now loving it, and just experiencing so many fun things. But it's hard to say it's like home because like right now it's just our home, but we're not going to be here forever. We know it's a temporary thing, and I think that's okay. I don't think like to call it home, you have to feel like it's like you're settling down and it's where you're going to build your roots and just, you know, you're not going to leave kind of your forever home. I don't think home has to mean that. For Tanner and I, it's never meant that. It's actually one of the things that I love about our family being so close and having these experiences is that we are each other's home. Like, I know that sounds cheesy, but I mean that from like my core is like Tanner's my home. My kids are my home. Regardless of whatever country we're in, we've got each other and like we're home. However, it also comes with a con that it's just, you know, you're kind of in the in-between stage. I feel like we're continuously just having these conversations of like, what do we want out of life? Like, where are we gonna go next? What are our goals now? What are our dreams now? And working towards that rather than like feeling of like, we made it. We feel that, but I wouldn't say it's like this continuous feeling because it's like, well, we know it's going to change at some point, and like, that's okay with us too. I don't know if this is making sense. Let me know in the comments if this makes sense to you. I'm trying to articulate it. Along with the same thought is having to change schools, childcare, like that's difficult. Just if we're talking strictly logistics, moving takes a lot. For Germany, we were like so gung-ho. We had so much energy. It was like, we're finally like, we're doing this. This is our dream. Like, we've made it. You know, we had that feeling once you arrived in Germany. However, I feel like moving to Japan, we're like, we don't really want to go through all the logistics of moving. Yes, we want to get to Japan, and so it's worth it. But as our girls grow older, and I think some like the fun wears off of moving. It's not the first time, you know, it's like, wow, this is a lot. And it does take a lot of energy and time. If we could just transport, like that would be best case scenario. And then the last one that we can think of is language. Although it's a pro, it is hard to be in a country where you can't even read what the buildings say. You can't speak what they're saying. Because we're close to the base, there's more English speakers, but there are plenty that don't speak English. Google Translate is our friend and constant companion here in Japan.
As you guys are all aware, we love living abroad, and it's been really fun to talk about a few of the pros and cons with you. Of course, even as I'm sitting here now, I'm thinking of a few other cons that we could really go into, but for now we're going to leave it at that. I'd love to hear some of the pros and cons that you have experienced living in different countries, or even in living in your own country that you see. I think just brings a really good discussion. So down in the comments, be sure to leave your ideas and your thoughts and impressions down there, and we can continue the conversation. Thank you so much for your support, everyone. We really appreciate it, and we love to see the growing community here. It's been really fun having people from different backgrounds all over the world. So thank you again for your support. If you have not already, be sure to like and subscribe our channel. And for those of you who would like to join our Patreon page, and that supports our channel directly, we really appreciate all those who are supporting there already. You can find that link down in the description below. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we will catch you on the next video.